Here's a little drawing I whipped up recently of Portugues de Ace, their brothers and sisters, and he's kind of got that look on his face like, hey, how you doing? Come on over here, darling, let's bump uglies. You know what I'm talking about. Let's play Hide the Salami. One Piece Chapter 156, Oh Come My Way Days. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the tantalizing and epic tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw everyone kind of, and as a matter of fact, it was the end of the volume as well. We saw things kind of getting wrapped up a little bit as far as everyone getting on their way to Alabasta, and ultimately that's where we were left off. There was nothing of real significance or consequence. We know, of course, that Mr. 2, Bon Clay, is on his way racing back from Little Garden to Alabasta, and then, of course, that we know the Straw Hats have set sail and are on their way as well. So, without further ado, we shall dive right in, shall we? So, this chapter starts out actually pretty funny. It's 5 days out from, it says, 5 days out from out to sea towards Alabasta, and they have no food left. Luffy has eaten all the food, which we found in the last chapter, and now they can't even fish because Luffy has also eaten all the bait. So we start out the chapter seeing Luffy and Usopp sitting there lowering Karoo, the Vivi's duck, down down over the side of the ship, and they're like, "Oh, I hope I'll catch a shark. Hope I'll catch a sea monster." I mean, just hilarious, you know. So Vivi goes and looks over and sees off in the distance, what appears to be smoke or steam rising from the ocean. So they go and they get Nami real quick. She's down below decks. Nami, come quick! There's, it looks like the ocean's on fire or there's smoke. And she says, "Don't worry about it." She explains to him that it's just underwater volcanoes. There's more volcanoes underwater than there are above water. Sanji's kind of swooning over. "Oh, Nami, you're so intelligent," type of thing. You're so great. But really what it is they're just describing a little bit about why this phenomenon is happening. So as they're going towards and they wind up hitting, because it's right in the middle of their course, they wind up going through the steam. We go and we see from, it flashes to Mr. 2 Bon Clay's ship on the Swandra. And they're like, "Oh, geez, sir, there's steam straight ahead, this like smoke, fog, whatever, And he's like, "No, keep going, don't worry about it, And I just picture him being like this Frenchman, stupid Americans, so stupid fat Americans. But so he goes and they go into it, and you're thinking, "Oh God, is this really like this coincidence in this giant ocean? Did they run into each other?" So it's funny because they come out of Bon Clay's, and his crew come out of the steam there. And then all of a sudden, some of his guys are like, "What? Mr. 2, Bon Clay, where did he go?" And he's not on the ship, What the hell? So then they go and they show a zoomed out shot of the, kind of the side of, of the Going Merry. And we see that Karoo is holding on to, Karoo, who is lowered down on a fishing pole over the side of the ship, is holding Mr. 2, Bon Clay, right? And he's like, "Aha, I have been caught by a duck." So, I don't even know if he talks like that. I'll find out soon enough when I get in the anime, but that's just what I picture. But anyway, and a couple chapters ago, I made the statement that I don't really care for a lot of these characters. This guy is actually pretty funny now that I've gotten to see him a little bit, and after this chapter. So he gets on board the ship, and of course he doesn't know who they are, and they don't know who he is, right? And so he gets on the ship, and they're like, "What's going on, blah, blah, blah." And, he explains to him what must happen. His ship will be coming back soon. And they start to interact and talk, right? And they're like, and he's basically like, "Oh, thank God, you saved me. I can't believe I was saved by pirates. I'm forever in your debt." And they're like, "What, you can't swim?" And he goes, "No, of course not. I've eaten a devil fruit." So they're like, "Oh, really? What devil fruit did you eat, And he goes and he says, "Well, let me explain." And all of a sudden he just nails Luffy, right? And all of a sudden you see everybody's face, and they're angry, man. You pissed off the Straw Hats, and they're about to put this guy over the side of the ship. And then he's like, no, hold on a second. It's all part of my act, right? So he goes and all of a sudden he just, ta-da! And he's Luffy, right? So he winds up telling us that he has the power of the clone fruit. And he's like, "Actually, I didn't need to punch you, or I didn't need to punch him or whatever. He just did that for dramatic effect, I guess, or because it was fun to punch Luffy." But he winds up going and he winds up going and kind of touching everybody else, like slapping them along the face. And he says, "All I need to do is touch you with my right hand, and then commit it to." And he does this thing where he says, "Memory, memory something, whatever, storage." And he's like, "And then the face is forever mine." As he's doing that, he starts kind of flipping his face through faces, And he also did this funny part too that I forgot to mention that was rather comical, where he's like, "I can change my body too," and he pulls open his like trench coat, his overcoat, and clearly he's changed into a voluptuous woman because he got Chopper and Usopp and Luffy all like with their eyes bucking out of their head, and then Vivi or Nami, one of them's like, "Stop that," But so then he goes and he goes and commits the faces to memory or whatever, and then goes and starts flipping faces. And one of the faces he flips through, I noticed, was Nefeltari Cobra, which of course is the king of Alabasta and Vivi's father. So, and she's kind of like, "Huh?" Well, at any rate, she says, enough with that, with the showing the powers off, and everybody's like, "Oh." They're going, because it says on the back of his jacket, I guess, "Oh, come my way," and that's like his "Oh, come my way" style, and it's just like his whole little theme, So all of a sudden, everybody's dancing around except for her, going, "Oh, come my way, oh, come my way." They love this guy. They think he's a hero. So they're sitting around talking with him. He'd also asked for some food, a bowl of soup, and they're like, "No," because of course they have no food. They're like, "We're the ones that are starving." But anyway, it's very short-lived because then his crew winds up coming to get him, and they're like, "Oh, good, we found you." And he's like, "Okay, I must leave now," and he goes, "Remember, friendship is not measured by the time spent," So basically, just like people that are of like interest can maybe. What I took from it is that you can become friends. You ever feel like you meet somebody and you feel like you identify with them well and you've just known them forever? I think that's kind of what he was talking like. Like he just came on and he just instantly was liked and everybody became friends very, very quickly. And even though they only spent the span of a few minutes together, I guess. And there's other people that know each other for years and still aren't very close. So I think that's what he was getting at when he said that. So as he leaves, he's going to leave to get onto his ship, and then they're like, "Come on, Mr. Two Bon Clay." And as they're going off, they're like, "Mr. Two?" And then they go and they all turn to Vivi, They're like, "Vivi, well, how the hell didn't you know that was Mr. Two, right?" And she goes, "Why?" Because she was obviously undercover in Baroque Works, and she's like, she goes, "Well, I've never even seen Mr. One or Mr. Two. I've only heard about them, and I didn't even know what their powers were. I just heard that Mr. Two wears makeup and, something with swans and can take the faces of other people or something like that, right? Oh, and then he wears a jacket that says, 'Oh, come my way' on the back." And they're like, "Are you blind?" I mean, he was just on the ship, So she's like, "Well, I didn't notice him, whatever, And it's just like I said, a very, very funny exchange, I thought, We wound up actually, and I don't know if I had put it up over here, I completely forgot, but we are on volume 18. And this is kind of cool because up until now, it's been 9 chapters per volume. We had 10 in one of them. This chapter actually, or this volume, it's much heavier. It actually has 11 chapters in it. So, I guess a little more bang for your buck or whatever you want to call it. I really kind of think it's cool. So they wind up talking a bit, though, amongst themselves after Mr. Bon Clay, leaves over there. And now it's kind of one of those, like, the enemy within type deals. If anybody's ever seen the movie The Thing, the one from back in the I think it was like the late 70s, early 80s with Kurt Russell. Really cool horror type movie, but it's really not really horror. It's more like edge of your seat. You don't know. This thing can impersonate the people that it kills or whatever. So there's a lot of mistrust and everything like that because throughout the whole movie, it's all based on like assuming, well, this person's acting funny. Is this the thing, So this is a similar type of instance because they're talking about how this could be a big problem. Number one, if he already has, because Vivi says one of the faces was my father's, right? So what does that mean? Well, if he can impersonate the king, obviously he can have a lot of influence over what's going on, especially with this rebellion that needs to be quelled here in Alabasta. And then number two, he's got all their faces now, right, of all the Straw Hats. So they're like, as soon as he figures out that we're not his buddy, you know what I mean? As soon as he gets orders again or whatever, or finds out, it's not going to be good because if he infiltrates, say he goes and captures one of the guys and ties him up and then imitates them or whatever, he looks and sounds just like him. Nobody would know, and he could infiltrate the group from within. So I think that's going to be something that's going to come to play, over the next 10, 20, 30 chapters, during this particular arc. So all in all, though, I thought it was very good. It flashes very quickly into a one-panel thing of, the Mr. Bon Clay, Mr. Two Bon Clay, and his crew, and they're like, "Hey, you seem very happy today." And he's like, "Yeah, I made some new friends." So he truly, didn't know what was going on. He truly didn't know that those were the Straw Hats and everything else. He just really thought that they were like good people. So, you know, my prediction is that he's going to follow orders and do what he needs to do later on and infiltrate the group and everything else. But ultimately, I think he may be one of those guys that he may go, and when it comes time to actually, you know, take out one of the straw hats or something like that, he's going to refuse orders and be like, these are my friends, you know. And anyway, that's just sort of the cliche, I guess, that you would see in books, movies, manga, comics, whatever. So my chapter question is, what do you think of the power of the clone fruit? It's actually pretty cool, and I'm sure that, you know, that many of you, I think actually when we talked about clone fruits in one of the questions that I had, I think somebody mentioned, or devil fruits, I think somebody mentioned clone fruit. But, you know, what are your thoughts on Mr. 2 Bon Clay's power? I actually think it's pretty cool. It has rejuvenated and given me some energy and some life into actually giving two shits about some of the Baroque Works agents now, you know, because I do think that that's kind of a cool power, and I think there's a ton of stuff that you can do with it that needs to be explored. So leave your answer to that question in the comment section down below, please. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it, and, you know, maybe subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching you in the next one, nation. Here's a little bit of a throwback one that we did from way back in Arlong Park, which was a whole 60 chapters ago. But thank you, as always, brothers, for sharing, liking, watching, subscribing, and just being a part of the nation.